Too much West Coast licking.
I want to perform their favorite song, but you know they love the suit.
Why say Virgil after he passed? Feels like you still have a little bit of animosity there.
I'm evil.
Amazing role models like our handsome, dashing president. The assassin, J.D. Vance, our vice president. And when I say that,
Lobries and Gentlegrams, we're now farther from the year 2000 than 2050, so come with me to witness history of this year that had plenty pretty and sticky moments. Countless components of 2025 kept Rapaholicz on a steady grind. Heavy headlines and tangled timelines and magnificent music for the mind. From January till December, couldn't have asked for a year that's better, so like a mouse to some cheddar, jump on the like and subscribe with pressure, and let's remember and say goodbye and tell the tale that defined the absolute wild ride of 2025.
I study
Rapaholicz
for a living.
Now, Lobries and Gentlegrams, happy holidays. I'm about to make two very contradicting statements right now, alright? Number one, first of all, thank you guys so much for the support over the year. You can't imagine how much it means to me, and I want your feedback because I've been making a big change to the channel in terms of how long the videos are, how much research I put into each and every video, how much time I put into the editing and the script writing. But as a result, the videos for the last couple of weeks have been taking me a lot longer to create than usual. So would you guys prefer the once every couple days, just quick videos reporting on the news, or the longer videos that are more cinematic, almost like a mini movie or a documentary? I'm going to leave a link in the description to a few videos that I think are some of my best work ever, so check those out and then let me know what you would rather see. And then on the opposite end, I want to encourage everyone too, without knowing your lifestyle, a big change I want to make in 2026 is to stop being so damn chronically online, alright? I think if I can be outside more, touch grass on more occasions, read a bit more, just disconnect from all the BS you see on social media 24/7, I think my life would be 10 times better. So that's my New Year's resolution for the big 2026. Drop yours in the comments. And with that, let's take a look at everything 2025. Now, I've never done one of these recap videos, but I got the inspiration from Tommy NFG, dope YouTuber, check him out. He did a full timeline on the year, but we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to look at more of the major moments in music rather than pop culture in general. So if you think you missed something in hip-hop, in music this year, this video will make sure you're all the way caught up to speed. January 2025. On the very first day of this year, Joey Badman made the bold proclamation that 2024 consisted of too much West Coast D-licking. He dropped his first track in several years called The Ruler's Back, taking a heavy blow to Kendrick Lamar and the West Coast in general, and of course, this kicked off the massive Joey Badman versus the West Coast battle that would trickle on into the rest of the year. And I think people forget how many actual songs we got out of this battle. I mean, from January alone, look at this list. That's 10 songs just in the first month of 2025 alone, and of course this beef hit its boiling point all the way in May, so we got like 5 months of dozens of rappers sending strays at one another, song after song, month after month. My favorite one out of the January diss tracks had to have been Daylight's Hi You, but let me know what yours was in the comments.
Too much West Coast licking.
January 3rd, just 3 days into 2025, a mysterious Drake freestyle leaks online called Fighting Irish. This song was really Drake's first attempt at reflecting on the entire beef and all the events that transpired in 2024, even though it was a leaked record. He talked about the world falling in love with the gimmicks last year, his brother switching up on him, making some allusions that he's referencing LeBron James, and even some thinly veiled threats at LeBron saying, God forbid we gotta tarnish your public image.
Spicy.
Lil Baby drops his first album in 3 years at the beginning of January, and it's met with some pretty mixed receptions from fans and critics. It's the first time that we hear Young Thug on an actual record since his release from prison in November 2024, but other than that verse, there's not many exciting moments on this project, and it would lead to a long pattern of many trap artists who defined and ruled the late 2010s and 2020s to drop some horribly uninspired projects all throughout 2025. We will get to that later, because someone who maybe wasn't so inspired with their craft in 2025 was definitely inspired with the courtroom.
But you know they love the suit.
It was on January 15th, 2025 that we saw Drake officially file a federal defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group over their release and promotion of the PDF claims made in Kendrick Lamar's diss track, Not Like Us. If you guys been keeping up with the channel, you already know all about this lawsuit inside and out, but the biggest claims that were initially made when this lawsuit first dropped was A, the fact that Drake was saying Kendrick Lamar's team essentially used a bunch of fake streams and bots to artificially boost the popularity of this record. And he also ratted out a bunch of streamers who had their channels whitelisted on the week that Not Like Us first came out, basically meaning they were able to post reaction videos when the diss record first dropped, and they were able to take the profits instead of UMG taking the profits.
But don't ever diss Kendrick. If you be a rapper, do not diss Kendrick, okay? Cool. You said no. You gonna diss Kendrick? Oh, I gotta go against you then, because I ain't picking nobody over Kendrick at this point. I mean, not even my own son, nigga. Yo, what the hell going on? Nah, Drake, you gotta say something.
And usually that's not how this game works. Like, if I play Not Like Us in this video, UMG would hit it with a copyright claim and they would take all the profits that this video makes. But for the first week that Not Like Us was released, UMG allowed streamers and reactors to basically profit off their live reactions to the song, and Drake didn't like that very much. So he named a bunch of streamers and reactors from No Life Shaq to Screwface John to Kai Cenat and a lot more in his unprecedented lawsuit that could have compromised the sanctity of freedom of speech and battle raps in music going forward. Luckily it didn't. We'll get to that later in the year.
This Drake them snitch on the reaction community. It's no way. It's no way you got us in this case, dog. We chilling, having fun. And you got us listed in the case? Oh, this gotta be the softest ever, dog.
January 20th, Nelly, Snoop Dogg, Rick Ross, and Soulja Boy performed at President Trump's inauguration ball. People were upset mainly at Snoop Dogg given the comments he's made about Donald Trump in the past.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you boo ass gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the out one of you Uncle Tom ass for doing it. Which one of you gonna do it first? I was the one that performs for himself.
People were also upset at DJ Henny hogging Big Mac as Akademiks because later in the month, a Discord call had leaked, which was actually being live streamed to the public. But there was only like 50 people watching it live. Someone was smart enough to record it because what was being said in that Discord call was absolutely insane. If you guys remember this time, it was really looking like this might have been the end of Akademiks. All in the span of 1 week, he got banned on Twitch. His viewership went down the toilet. He briefly started covering politics just in case he needed a plan B, and no one wanted to hear him talk about hip-hop anymore.
Those 3 Big Macs are for me!
I'm not going to play clips of this call, but essentially Akademiks somehow found himself on a live call with a 15-year-old kid who was a massive fan of the streamer Playboi Max, and Akademiks was asking him things like, if Playboi Max wanted to experiment with the opposite gender, would you let him with you? The kid was very uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable recapping it. You guys can check it out for yourself. On a brighter note, we did get some great music. Just a couple days after this, Mac Miller's estate dropped his long-anticipated album Balloonerism on January 17th, 2025, which was exactly 5 years after his first posthumous album, Circles. And it was also just 2 days before what would have been his 33rd birthday. The project was primarily recorded in 2014, around the same time as his mixtape Faces. Incompleted versions of this project had leaked online, so it was great that his estate took the time to execute this properly and finally give the fans this project in full. One of the best albums of this year. Another contender for Album of the Year came from The Weeknd, who dropped his final album under the Weeknd alias. He will allegedly be going by his full Govy name, Abel Testayouf. I've never been able to pronounce his last name. But yeah, if you're looking for new Weeknd music, you won't find it. He'll be releasing music under his actual real name going forward. This was also the third series and the finale of his After Hours trilogy, and it extended the crazy run that The Weeknd has been going on pretty much ever since he left OVO. But unlike Drake, we did find out The Weeknd is a terrible actor, though.
Shut the up! Shut the up! Shut up! What are you doing? What the are you doing?
I know it might be hard for you to digest this right now, but I'm running the show. Let me catch you looking at her again. Let me catch you looking at her again. I'm not. Let me catch you looking at her again.
And to cap the first month of this year off, Joey Batman would spin the block again, dropping Sorry Not Sorry, and not just diss Kendrick Lamar this time around, but also diss J. Cole. He basically clowned Cole for deleting his Kendrick Lamar diss track by rapping, might delete later, but Joey won't.
Might delete later, I know damn sure that Joey won't.
Now, outside of music, you had some massive moments in this month as well. Of course, Trump was sworn into office as the 47th U.S. president, changing the world on the first day in office as he renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And at the same time, the world was changing on my side of the continent as Justin Trudeau resigned as the Canadian Prime Minister, leaving us without a Prime Minister or someone ruling our government for a good 2 months of this year. I'm not sure if that's ever happened in history, but hey, anything was possible in 2025. And I don't say that just to say that. Records were really broken. Milestones were made. Like what, you might ask? Well, New York went 5 days without a shooting, the first time in 30 years. Bonnie Blue breaks the record for most men slept with in 12 hours, totaling 1,057 men. And speaking of astronomical numbers, Kanye West becomes a billionaire again. And he'll lead us right into the next month of February 2025 because in true Kanye fashion, whenever someone catches a W, he's gotta rush the stage and interrupt the fun. And he's not exempt from his own rules. He's killing his own party because just as quickly as he became a billionaire, Kanye West seemingly made it his mission in February 2025 to become the most hated man alive. It all started with one tweet, February 6th, 2025, 9:03 p.m. Free Puff. But wait, hold up. Before we get to Kanye West, we gotta focus on one of the biggest moments of 2025, the Grammy Awards. After his insane 2024, it was only right that Kendrick Lamar swept the Grammy Awards and made history that night, becoming the first hip-hop act to win both Record and Song of the Year, with Not Like Us winning every single category it was nominated in and Kendrick walking away with 5 Grammy Awards. This was also the night that shot Doechii into stardom. Her 2024 mixtape Alligator Bites Never Heal flew under the radar with the mainstream up until the point where she made history, becoming the third female MC alongside Cardi B and Lauryn Hill to win Rap Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards. Now, just the following week after sweeping the Grammys, Kendrick then goes on to make more history, playing the Great American Game at the Great American Game, garnering the highest watched Super Bowl halftime show of all time, absolutely taunting Drake in the process.
I want to make a move. I want to perform their favorite song. But you know they love the suit.
What song? Yeah, that song.
All I ever wanted was a black Grand National.
Now, all the new eyeballs that Kendrick got on him after this massive halftime show led him to break even more records within the industry, becoming the first rapper in history to ever cross over 100 million monthly listeners on Spotify, being the first rapper in history to have 3 albums in the top 10 of the Billboard 200 chart, with GNX, Good Kid Mad City, and Damn all shooting up back into the top 10 right after the Super Bowl. And with all the teasing Kendrick did of whether or not he was going to perform Not Like Us during the halftime show, that gave the song a massive boost to the point where it actually shot back up to #1 on the Billboard charts the week after the Super Bowl, which was 29 weeks after the last time Not Like Us was #1 on the charts.
Those
29
Big Macs are for me.
And why this is interesting is because it broke the record for having the 3rd longest break between #1 runs on the Hot 100 chart. Now, of course, Drake couldn't sit back and watch Kendrick have all the success during February, so he jumped in with a project of his own. On Valentine's Day, him and PARTYNEXTDOOR released their collaboration tape, Some Sexy Sleepy Songs for You, which was Drake's lowest rated album in his catalog and had the 2nd lowest first week sales number for any album within Drake's catalog. But it did spawn a couple hits with Nokia and Somebody Who Loves Me, proving that Drake still has a loyal pop fan base. Speaking of collaboration tapes, we also got the collab tape between Larry June, 2 Chainz, and The Alchemist right around this time as well, called Life is Beautiful. Very dope project that kind of flew under the radar with all the madness that was going on during this timeline. But someone who wouldn't let his name or his music be forgotten throughout the madness in February 2025 was Kanye West. Of course, starting off this entire manic episode with a tweet reading "Free Puff." The tweets only got worse and worse as the days and months progressed. Some of the highlights included saying F Virgil, Tyler the Creator's music sucks, Drake is the homophobic F-bomb, and everyone's favorite, Jay-Z's kids are the R-word. This was only Act 1 of the Kanye saga. It gets worse in March. But before we get there, we got one of the verses of the year from Meek Mill, Grammy-nominated verse on Friday's song Pray For Me. We also got a Song of the Year contender with J. Cole's Clouds, which was actually the last song we have heard from J. Cole to this day, all the way back in February. And outside of music, you had TikTok that got banned and then unbanned. You had Elon Musk, who had his 13th child. Trump started a tariff war. And with all the Super Bowl talk, if you're curious who actually won it, it was the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, and I forgot, Kanye West ran the most low-budget Super Bowl commercial in history, which led to his website where he was only selling one product: Mustache Man t-shirts.
So what's up, guys? I spent like all the money for the commercial on these new teeth. So once again, I had to shoot it on the iPhone. Go to Yeezy.com.
But yeah, like I mentioned, it only got worse with Kanye in March. Luckily, he kind of disappeared by May, so this definitely won't be a Kanye West video, but March is when we started getting the music from Kanye. World War III, HH. He linked up with all the different Red Pill streamers and decided to document his new creative process, cooking up NAZI music, wearing black KKK hoodies, while Akademiks interviews him in a remote hotel just minutes before he has to catch a flight to Japan because his life was apparently in danger. And when he's asked why he's digging himself in this hole, he answers with 2 words, and it's not Free Diddy. Instead, it's I'm evil.
Why say F Virgil after he passed? I think a lot of people feel like, he's not here to defend himself. It feels like you still have a little bit of animosity there.
I'm evil.
Spicy.
And there's no denying he was not lying when he said this, because just a couple weeks later, we would say Kanye say, in my opinion, the most despicable thing that has ever come out of his mouth in the public eye. Even the yes men around him couldn't co-sign this. He had to go to the bathroom, and he asked the rest of the people around him, where is Virgil's grave?
Oh man, I gotta use the bathroom. Where's Virgil's? Okay, so oh my god.
That wasn't.
I don't adore that joke. I don't adore that joke.
This was absolutely disgusting, and a lot of it actually stemmed from jealousy from being shunned within the industry. See, the music industry saw its biggest release for 2025 thus far back in March, and Kanye West was not welcome aboard. It was none other than Playboi Carti's long-anticipated 5-year-in-the-making album, Music.
Try to pop his pain and two in his brain, blow up the floor. First I go whip out the bow. No, I can't hit on no brakes.
Now, Carti made his fans wait till like 7 a.m. for this thing to drop when it was supposed to come out at midnight. A lot of the hardcore Opium fans, the Rage fans, they were a little bit disappointed in the whole thing. But for the casuals, it was a combination of cool and confusing with commercial success. A lot of people didn't understand the 3 Kendrick Lamar collaborations, the non-cohesive assortment of different sounds and voices scattered throughout the project, and spanning, I believe, 30 plus songs. It was definitely a long listen. But overall, it was Carti's biggest album to date, selling almost 300,000 copies in the first week. If we're talking superstars of this generation, you gotta give it to Carti and Youngboy, and Youngboy actually had a massive moment in March of 2025 as well, being released from prison after almost a year-long stint. Speaking of incarcerated rappers, you had Tory Lanez, who recorded an entire album straight from a jail phone. That wasn't such a great project, but that month did bring us a great project in Saba and No ID's album from the private collection of Saba and No ID. Another gem that was discovered this month was the Family Guy Lost Pilot, which is something people have known existed for a while, but it was lost media. You couldn't find it anywhere, and it's really notable because this is something Seth MacFarlane sketched up. He's the creator of the show, by the way. He concocted this whole thing and pitched it to Fox, where he was voicing most of the characters, and they look completely different from how you know them today. So it was kind of cool to dig this whole thing up almost 30 years later.
Lois is a blonde in The Lost Pilot, whereas she is a redhead in the final version.
I don't believe it, Peter. You got fired?
Shoot, these things are lucky. Dad's getting $150,000 a week in welfare. Isn't that cool?
Stewie and Meg's outfits are different from what they wear in the original episode.
Put down your thermostat.
April 2025. See, as I'm doing this video, I'm going through my channel and seeing like what videos I was making throughout all the different points of this year to, remember what major events were going on. And most of the videos from April were all about the 1-year anniversary reviews of the different diss tracks that we got. This was the 1-year anniversary of the Kendrick and Drake beef, and we're definitely still feeling the after effects of it. The victory lap was not done. In fact, it was getting a whole new life sucked into it because this was the month that Kendrick Lamar kicked off his GNX Stadium tour with SZA. And when this tour first kicked off on that first night, everyone was talking about it, from the different skits that Kendrick Lamar was doing all throughout the show.
Your fans are Mexican. How do you chamoy?
What's the talk? Chamoy? She make Jordan. They were she was a bullshit. I said, fuck away. She make my heart hurt.
Were you being metaphorical, or should it be taken as a threat?
It's whatever you want to take it.
The record reflect, I'll take it as a threat.
Okay, what you want to do then?
To the explosive performances.
Ain't no like my cause that bit my pen.
The stage design, the massive crowds of 50,000 plus people.
Make some noise for the
History was being made, records were about to be broken, and at the same time, Eminem also broke a record because he became a grandfather. I guess it's not really a record, but his daughter had a baby boy. Drake also broke some records this month. He passed the Beatles for the most amount of weeks charting on the Billboard 200 charts, with around 3,300 weeks throughout his entire career on that chart. And that's the album chart, by the way, not the singles chart. So his albums in total have been charting for 3,300 weeks. Speaking of Drake, speaking of Canada, Canada finally got a new prime minister into office after 2 months of having no one running our country. Like, imagine in America, you guys just didn't have a president for 2 months. Maybe things would actually be calmer. I don't know, but back to hip-hop, it wasn't just SZA making strides out of the TDE camp, because Ray Vaughn had put out his debut, I don't know if you want to call it album, mixtape, whatever it is. It was a great project. The good, the bad, the dollar menu. Let me know your favorite song off that tape in the comments below. Oh, and of course, speaking of new music, this is where, in my opinion, the whole Kanye saga capitulated when he released his brand new song, Cousins, with the precursor that the song was all about his traumatic experience of essentially performing an S act on his cousin until his cousin was 11, I believe. And aside from Kanye battling these demons, the biggest debate on the internet in April of 2025 was whether or not 100 men can battle and beat one gorilla. That debate would progress into the next month of May 2025, where we would get several interesting events, to say the least. Starting things off, Donald Trump would pardon NBA YoungBoy, absolving him of all his crimes, and as a thank you to Mr. Trump, YoungBoy would dedicate the title of his next album to Trump's MAGA movement by naming it Massa, Make America Slime Again. Lady Gaga also sets the record for highest attended concert by a female artist in history for drawing in a 2.5 million person crowd in Rio, but it was a free show. In terms of paid shows that were breaking records, that would be none other than Kendrick and SZA's GNX show in May of 2025 when they performed at Lumen Field in Seattle and grossed $14.8 million in that one show, which became the highest earning hip-hop concert of all time to date. Kendrick would get tied up in a second lawsuit aside from the Drake one, as Rodney O filed a lawsuit against Future, Metro Boomin, and Kendrick over the song Like That, with the lawsuit claiming unpaid royalties and improper clearance for the sample track Everlasting Bass that was used in the instrumental of Like That. And speaking of legal troubles, this was the month that Diddy's trial would finally commence, with him facing 20 plus years in prison. And we're not done with the legal trouble just yet, because The Game had been ordered by a judge to sell his Calabasas mansion to help pay his $7+ million judgment from a 2016 SA lawsuit that was won by a woman named Priscilla Rainey, a former contestant on his reality show She's Got Game. I've done a bunch of videos on this, so you guys can check them out. Maybe I'll leave them in the link in the description. But essentially, The Game had hosted a game show where, he was just looking for love, basically.
I lost the best thing that ever happened to me, but now I think I'm ready to find that special someone. And I'm gonna give her 100% of everything that I got.
Game is looking for love.
You're gonna step into my life and take this journey.
And he's bringing 10 lucky ladies along for the ride. She's Got Game. New series premieres Monday, August 10th at 9.
One of the contestants on the show claims she was SA'd by The Game, and she ended up suing him. The Game never showed up to court for like a good 10 years, and because of that, he was forced to pay this woman $7 million. So, because he never coughed up that money, she started collecting his assets like Pokemon cards. First, it was his weed company, then it was his record label. He has an independent record label. All the profits now go to her. And by May of 2025, the judge basically told The Game, look, buddy, you got a Calabasas crib here. You haven't paid this woman the $7 million that you owe her. You got to sell that house to start making these payments. I'll make sure to keep you guys updated when we get any new update on this case. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if The Game's homeless or what. But speaking of Calabasas, the West Coast home turfs, we of course can't forget the Joey Badman versus the West Coast battle reaching a boiling point in May of 2025. By this point, it was really Joey versus Ray Vaughn and Daylight. I mean, there was a bunch of other people who dropped response records of their own, but in my opinion, Ray Vaughn and Daylight had the best performances, and that's who I really want to see go toe-to-toe with Joey at that point in time. And I'll give it to Joey, like, he definitely stood his ground. I mean, he had like at least 4 or 5 rappers at the height of this thing in May firing at him, and he was dropping more music than all of them combined. He was dropping diss track after diss track. My favorite songs to come out of this whole thing were definitely Ray Vaughn's Golden Eye and Joey's song Crash Dummy.
You know I really want the one who elevated your walk on.
I mean, they were going after Joey for being at those Diddy parties, right? And he flipped the whole thing by saying, thank you for making it clear that K-Dot's scared. And yeah, I was at the party, but I also saw Top Dog there. Obviously, that's just the surface. I broke down almost every record to come out of both Ray Vaughn, Daylight, and Joey's camp, so you guys can check out those older videos. But it was in June where we really saw things start to heat up. Alright, so outside of music, I mean, the biggest story by far in this month had to have been the fact that Trump signs off on this quote-unquote big beautiful bill, which Elon Musk, who had been involved in government all the way up until April or May of 2025, he was not too happy about this big beautiful bill, but he was no longer in government. He couldn't do much about it. Trump accuses Elon of not liking the bill because it's not incentivizing people to buy electric cars, which of course Elon Musk sells. Elon says no, he doesn't like the bill because it's leading to more government spending, but somehow this whole entire back and forth heats up to the point where Elon Musk exposes that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. And honestly, if I had to describe 2025 in any sort of phrase, it would probably end up being Twitter feuds and Epstein files.
Spicy.
Another crazy story you guys probably forgot about. Remember the dude who made that song, Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nene? Silento. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison for unaliving his cousin. Now, someone who unalived their prestigious album series legacy was Lil Wayne with the Carter 6. Man, this was the saddest moment of the year for me. As a historic Wayne defender, this was completely indefensible. No redeeming qualities. He started teasing it way back in February, right when Kendrick Lamar did the Super Bowl halftime show, and the whole kind of rollout was like, I'm such a better artist. I deserve to be on that Super Bowl stage. You guys are all going to see when I drop this magnum opus of an album in my legendary Carter album series. Everyone will regret that I wasn't on that Super Bowl stage. And I mean, you guys let me know in the comments, but I don't think anyone was sad Wayne was not on that Super Bowl stage unless you were hoping for a circus show with a bunch of elephants.
What up, dope? All my niggas cutthroat, cut a nigga.
This not real.
Aside from Wayne's big album, the Clips had obviously announced they had a massive album coming out in this summer, and it was in June where they really started ramping up the promo and kicking off that amazing rollout that everybody's been praising them for. They dropped their second single to the album, So Be It, where obviously Pusha T is taking aim at Travis Scott, threatening to expose some revealing tape of Travis breaking down to Pusha T. And aside from the track, he also did some interviews where he detailed the actual hurdles that him and his brother faced to get this long-anticipated 15-year comeback album out to the world. And it added some context to the confusion we all had over Drake's lawsuit. See, Pusha T had revealed that this Clips album was actually ready to release in 2024 at the height of the Drake and Kendrick beef. But of course, they had that Kendrick feature on there, and Clips being signed under UMG trying to stop Drake from suing them at this point in summer 2024. They told Pusha T, hey, you are not allowed under our watch, under our release, to be standing next to Kendrick Lamar and putting out music with him, or we just won't put out that song. So Pusha T, his brother, they bought themselves out of their contract, ended up linking up with Roc Nation for a distribution deal. And it was in June of 2025 where the Clips announced that this would be the new home for this upcoming album. Now, speaking of Drake and suing, if you thought he probably wanted to sue UMG and Kendrick Lamar 10 times harder back in February when Kendrick did the Super Bowl,
but you know they love to sue.
It only got worse in June, okay? Kendrick Lamar ends up taking his GNX Stadium tour that was breaking all these records for highest grossing hip-hop concert of all time. He takes that thing to Drake's hometown of Toronto. 2 nights back-to-back performing Not Like Us, getting standing ovations, and even having Drake's goon Top 5 doing a standing ovation outside the hotel room he thought Kendrick Lamar was staying at. But of course, he didn't get in.
Lock off every door in the Noble Hotel. Man, even cut everything off. Man bought everything. He's a bitch.
And aside from this historic W, Kendrick Lamar also swept the BET Awards. He met Kai Cenat and Drewski, who tried to avoid him.
I'm just trying to get a photo. Yo, how you doing, bro? You good?
And it seems like ultimately everyone in June 2025 had a lot of fun, except for Lil Wayne and Drake fans. I'm still fuming over that Carter 6, man. But let's move on to July of 2025. This is when Drake tries to make a redemption. See, he announces and releases his first Iceman livestream, episode 1, where he premieres his brand new single for Iceman, his upcoming solo album, What Did I Miss? And I mean, if you guys remember this point in time, he was making this song seem like it was this grand comeback, right? With the, highly produced live stream with the Iceman crap. On the song, he's obviously talking about, what did I miss, as if he has to catch up from something that he wasn't around for. But it's like, we went through this timeline, right? You remember, it was only about 10 minutes ago I was talking about February 2025 when Drake gave us a 22-song album with PARTYNEXTDOOR. What could he have missed? It was only like 5 months. So anyone telling you that hip-hop was dead in 2025 because Kendrick didn't allow Drake to put out, bangers or whatever, tell them the only thing Drake missed was his ability to make hits. But boy, did we get some hits in July of 2025. See, we got the Clips album. We got the Freddie Gibbs album. We got the Tyler, the Creator album. We were about to get the JIT album. We even got a Travis Scott response record to Pusha T.
Made 100 off pushing T's, now my phone on D&D.
We gotta, of course, also acknowledge the Mass Appeal Legends Has It movement that Nas had implemented. All throughout 2025, we got the second installment in this album series from Raekwon in July. Another Larry June project as well, and a Justin Bieber album, I believe on the same week as the Clips. That was a pretty decent album too. The song Yukon, great song. Aside from the music side of thing, I mean, we had a lot of freakiness going on in July 2025, alright? So, the Diddy trial wrapped up. He was convicted on 2 of 5 counts and sentenced to 4 years with time served. I believe he's got an expected release date of somewhere in spring of 2028, so look out for Diddy by then. And speaking of another freaky man, the DOJ announced that there was no client list in the Epstein case. There was no blackmail evidence, and they confirmed that Epstein did die by unaliving himself. We also lost a legend, Ozzy Osbourne. Rest in peace. Some more legends would be honored in August of 2025 when Nas's Mass Appeal Legend Has It movement kept continuing with more projects from legends dropping. This time around in August, it was Ghostface Killah, who dropped the sequel to his classic album, Supreme Clientele. This one didn't quite fit up to the quality of the first one, but it was a pretty good project nonetheless. We also got Album of the Year contender by JID within this month. Things would also heat up with the Drake and Kendrick lawsuit by August of 2025, because this is when Drake would actually request documents from UMG to see any information they had about communications involving Kendrick Lamar, Dave Free, and Kendrick Lamar's own children, plus any accusations that UMG knew of and communicated about in relation to Kendrick Lamar abusing anybody. Basically, everything Drake said in Family Matters in that diss track, he was trying to prove that it was real in court by digging through UMG's files and finding the proof that he claimed to have had when he actually dropped the diss track. So you can see that lawsuit was getting kind of out of hand, and some other things were getting out of hand at this point. First of all, you had SZA and Nicki Minaj beefing. I forget if that was July or August. I'll throw that in somewhere here. And you also had Young Thug beefing with, all of Atlanta. Keep in mind, right? By this point, we're approaching almost a full year since Young Thug has been a free man, and we've heard 2 songs from him. No album. But by late August 2025, we started hearing something else from him. Jail phone calls. Yes, hours worth of them. He was on the phone talking to 21 Savage, Mariah the Scientist, his girlfriend, his manager seemingly, and he was talking, all right? These conversations date all the way back to late 2022, and by the point that Gunna had actually taken his plea deal, Young Thug was on a mission to destroy his career and exposed himself several times in the process, right? First of all, he exposed the fact that he deployed a bunch of bots, a bunch of fake streams onto Gunna's music in order for him to get the #1 spot instead of The Weeknd when they both released albums in 2022.
And even if Uzi moves, we still have to deal with Morgan Wallen because he's doing 100,000 every week, no matter what.
Who?
Morgan Wallen, the country guy.
Yeah, what the f*** is this nigga doing? Why the f*** didn't we think to put him on the album? What the f***?
I mean,
You think we're going to beat the boy?
I'm not going to sleep until we beat him. So whatever happens. So it's
Beat the boy,
okay.
Beat the boy, then tell the boy you can't beat me, join me. Get on this song, young boy. Yeah, let's try to beat that nigga. You still got that plug, right? That shit we did with none of them, you still got that plug?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Tell you. All right, my boy.
Yeah. All right, I love you. Call me an hour.
Young Thug was also trying to sabotage Gunna's album release in 2023 by releasing an album on the same week as Gunna, and in an attempt to outshine him, he was trying to get the entire music industry on that new project. When he found out that Kendrick Lamar was not really feeling any of the music that was sent his way, he ended up going on a pretty lengthy rant about Kendrick.
With Kendrick.
I hope he do it.
So do I.
He don't take no money, do he?
No. He wouldn't do that. Just think about it. He does so few verses. You know what I mean? He's not just doing verses.
Right. All that fake. I ain't getting on no rapper songs. I don't be liking them type nigga like that. These nigga get too big. I don't want to do no feature. Why? Why you don't want to do no feature? Why wouldn't you want to do a feature for a superstar? You really got Lil Durk calling you for a song, Lil Baby, Dogg, real superstar calling you for a song. Why wouldn't you do the song? We lit, nigga. We going #1 too. I don't be understanding that type of shit. Supposed to be a nigga who blessing it. That's why them niggas will never be bigger than Drake ever in life.
He also ranted about how Drake was very insensitive to Metro Boomin when he had lost his mother, pretty much giving us an entire context to the backstory behind why Metro Boomin and Drake have seemingly been not getting along for like 3 years by this point. And I mean, there's too many names to name here, right? Young Thug was going at Future, Migos, Gucci Mane, P from QC, Glorilla, the list goes on. Oh, speaking of Gunna, I forgot he actually put out an album this month. Kind of a forgettable project, but this was definitely good promo for it. But it wouldn't be the best promo for Young Thug because in September, everything for him would change. Yes, we finally got the long-anticipated Young Thug album by September 2025. Oh, we also got to acknowledge Joey Badman and Chance the Rapper, who dropped some decently solid albums in August 2025. I mean, Chance's album was great. Joey's not so much, considering all the hype and the actual great performance he brought to that rap battle between him and the West Coast. Slightly disappointing from Joey, but great comeback from Chance. And also not such a great comeback from Young Thug. So back to September, right? He drops this album. He's wearing whiteface on the cover or photoshopping himself white. I don't know what the hell is going on. The intro actually starts off sounding like it's going to be a crazy banger, even playing a speech from the prosecutor in his case as the opener to the project. Like, this thing had a very cinematic, very hyped up feel, but I mean, you guys have probably heard the end of that track, right? It pretty much sums up the amount of effort that Young Thug was going to put towards the entire project. And that was Forgettable album number 4 from 2025. We got Lil Baby, Travis Scott, Lil Wayne, and now Young Thug. Speaking of Forgettable, Drake had been teasing a massive red button. Remember, this is like the lawsuit is getting higher and higher. He's requesting info about Kendrick's kids in court. And then all his fans are saying that he's pressing the red button on the 3rd episode of Iceman. It ends up coming out, and, well, I'll let Kai Cenat describe it.
Biggest waste of my time of all time. The biggest waste of my god. Yo, I can't fake it. I can't fake it. That was ass. I can't fake it. I can't fake it. I actually can't fake it. That was so ass.
Aside from that, Kendrick kept winning. He won an Emmy, he won a couple VMA awards, and they even made some jokes about Drake being a PDF at the Oscars. Cardi B released her first album in 7 freaking years in September 2025, and with that came a massive beef with Nicki Minaj, which ended up capitulating in Nicki Minaj calling Cardi B's child something that I don't feel like saying on this video. That would be Twitter feud, I think, number 3 for Nicki this year. And on a darker note, on September 7th, 2025, a body would be found in the front trunk of a Tesla that belonged to singer David, spelt with a 4. Now, a lot of you guys probably never heard of David before this massive story. He was actually the #1 most searched person on Google in 2025. And I mean, rightfully so, because this story was absolutely insane. So basically, the woman in that trunk, or I shouldn't say woman, I should say girl, she was 14 years old. And I mean, as more random little tidbits came out, people started piecing it together that David, the man whose Tesla that body was in, he probably knew that little girl for many months, if not years, before she ended up losing her life. They may have even been romantically involved, with the victim's mother saying that they both had matching tattoos and that her daughter was dating a man by the name of David. Craziest part of this whole shindig is we're now in almost January 2026 and an arrest has still not been made. Aside from that, Giorgio Armani passed away in September at the age of 91, RIP, and Bad Bunny had been announced as the Super Bowl halftime performer for 2026. But what about October, you might ask? Well, that was an interesting one. So in October, we started off on a very celebratory note. See, the legendary Judge Vargas, who was handling the Drake versus UMG lawsuit, had dismissed the entire lawsuit basically stating that Drake's whole case of defamation, which is what that lawsuit was riding on, right, was that Kendrick made defamatory statements in Not Like Us. The judge said, no, these are not defamatory statements when we judge them in the context of the rap battle, and when we know that the reasonable listener would hear this and understand Kendrick's motive behind these words, given that both of you were at a war of words, and therefore they would not take them as fact, therefore they cannot be considered defamatory. Drake's legal team, of course, appealed the judge's decision, but that'll be a story for 2026. For now, we celebrate the fact that the judge at least had some common sense and protected freedom of speech. Speaking of suing as well, Cameron would sue J. Cole over unpaid compensation for contributions he made to J. Cole's 2024 project, Might Delete Later. See, basically, when Cameron gave him a verse, J. Cole told him he'd either do Cameron's podcast or give Cameron another verse in return. But, ever since that whole Kendrick battle thing happened for J. Cole, we haven't heard a thing from him, right? I told you guys, last song we heard from him was Clouds in February 2025, so he probably told Cameron, look, I'm not in the right headspace to do any sort of podcast right now, any sort of music. But Cameron still needs his money. So he took J. Cole to court. And ultimately, Cameron needs his money like the Billboard charts needed hip-hop music on them. Because in October of 2025, for the first time since the year 1990, we saw 0 rap songs in the top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100. AKA, there were no rap songs on the charts for the first time in over 35 years, marking, a significant shift in that maybe hip-hop is headed in a less mainstream direction. And obviously, the elephant in the room is that the biggest mainstream cash cow in hip-hop, Drake, had just got the lights knocked out of him a year prior, and now ironically, there's no hip-hop songs on the charts because Drake is not around, even though, we went through, he dropped like 40 songs in 2025, right? And ironically, there is a new Billboard rule that was implemented to where if your song is not above a certain position and it's been on the charts for a certain amount of weeks, then it goes recurrent, aka it disappears off the charts. And technically, if that rule wasn't in place, a Kendrick Lamar song, Luther, would have still been on the charts. So there would have been a song in the top 40 and there wouldn't have been this whole discussion about all this crap, all because of one Billboard rule. But basically, Kendrick Lamar technically was supposed to be in the top 40 that week. So the irony is that everyone is crying that, Kendrick killed hip-hop because of this Drake battle, when in reality, Kendrick had the closest chance to actually getting on the Billboard top 40 for that week and not letting hip-hop lose its 35-year streak of having a song every single week in the top 40. But screw the top 40. We had Mass Appeal give us some of the best projects from their Legend Has It campaign in this month of October, with Mobb Deep's album Infinite and my personal favorite, Big L's Harlem's Finest, Return of the King. This was something that Nas helped put together with Big L's estate. If you guys have not checked out Big L, you're missing out on one of the greatest flows in hip-hop, in my opinion, by far. And, this project brought you straight back to, like, mid-1990s radio freestyles. This album, to me, really brings back that raw essence of just, like, handing out mixtapes on a street corner or going up to radio stations freestyling and stuff. Like, it's not something that is overly produced in any capacity, but that's the way you want it, right? Like, this really preserves Big L's legacy because they're just taking songs in their raw form, how they existed in the 90s, and placing them on this track list in a way that, again, just makes this whole thing feel like a free-flowing, fun, untouched tribute to Big L's legacy. All right, November. Given all the W's Kendrick Lamar has taken this year and all the times that Drake has fought to steal the spotlight from him, whether it was, dropping an album just a couple days after the Super Bowl halftime show, whether it was dropping lawsuits to try and take away from the success of Not Like Us, whether it was scheduling live streams with Kai Cenat on the same day that Kendrick was performing in Toronto. None of that worked, but the irony is that the same thing took place in the League of Baseball, because the LA Dodgers, for a second year in a row, went up head-to-head in the World Series against the Toronto Blue Jays. And Drake was talking crazy on Instagram, acting like they already won before they did, but the LA Dodgers ended up winning Game 7, making them back-to-back champions. Another interesting head-to-head in November was Cash Money versus No Limit Records. Another really interesting head-to-head, if you want to call it that, was Rory and Mal against Twitter, essentially. I mean, this news made TMZ, so it could make a Rapaholicz roundup video. Do you guys remember the Twitter spaces that went down? The night that, all those old Rory tweets had like resurfaced online?
Bro, y'all are
He's
crazy.
cornball. Hey, yo, Rory, man.
Yeah,
just
get
go
your
to sleep,
goofy
man.
ass off
You
here,
in here with
boy.
some cornballs.
Yeah,
Go to
get your
sleep, Rory.
goofy ass off here, boy. Clown.
Oh, that's a tough guy right there. Gangsta.
Yeah, right. No, I ain't tough. Nigga, stand in that. Stand in that.
Hey, Mo, if y'all
They're
not
standing
get
that.
off
Gangsta. These
Stand in that, brother.
niggas
I don't get tough until niggas get flight itineraries.
Oh, boy. Spell itinerary.
Hey, next question, brother.
Spell
What are you
itinerary.
talking about? Yeah, spell the foul, goofball.
Yeah.
Silly ass. Yeah, if niggas are
That was crazy. Kanye makes, I guess you could call it a full circle moment if you want. After all the anti-Semitic commentary, after making a song praising the mustache man, he concludes his 2025 by actually visiting a famous rabbi, Rabbi Pinto, to, I guess apologize for his comments or make amends or I don't know. He gave the guy a hug, I guess. Does that mean we can all go back to bumping Graduation now? November also saw the Grammy nominations for 2026 come out, and just like earlier this year, it looks like Kendrick will sweep in 2026 with him being the most nominated artist of the night. I believe it's 9 nominations. The Album of the Year category this year looks crazy with GNX, Clips's Let's God Sort 'Em Out, and Tyler the Creator's Chromacopia all going up head-to-head against each other. It's looking like the first time in nearly 2 decades a rap album actually stands the chance to win Album of the Year this year at the Grammys. Will it be Kendrick Lamar? We'll have to wait and see. But someone who deserves a Grammy for 2027 is Wale, because in November he dropped his, I don't know if it's his 7th album, whatever it is, it's phenomenal. Everything is a Lot is the title, and it's a lot of amazing music, put it simply. Same thing with De La Soul's album, Cabin in the Sky, another mass appeal Nas release. Phenomenal project, one of the best of the year. Another great project, if you guys didn't check it out, is The Pilot by Mavi. Mavi's like an up-and-coming, I want to say up-and-coming, but like he's been doing this for years at this point. Underground, I don't know what you'd label him, but he's a dope rapper. You guys should check that project out. November was definitely a good one for new hip-hop releases. It was also good for the fact that Denmark had apparently banned kids who are 15 years and under from using social media. Amazing. Even more amazing, Trump signs a bill to release the Epstein files. Will he do it? LeBron James reaches the longest NBA career record as his 23rd season starts. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I think, the whole Charlie Kirk situation. Yeah, that was bad. And by November, the internet found a way to make a meme out of it, putting Charlie Kirk's face on every single random famous person in pop culture and creating the AI song, We Are Charlie Kirk. But forget about AI music, because December brought us some really good hip-hop, real music from a person, not AI. Big Crit, he was the first runner-up, dedicated to Katali Biarritz. I definitely butchered the name of that album, but great project. Brought us back to like those, early blog era days, 2012, when Big Crit was running the mixtape scene. Lil Baby dropped another uninspired project. Marco Plus, he's a dope up-and-comer. You guys should check him out. He dropped a really good project. And there was a crazy night of different releases. I think it was December 9th. You had Conway the Machine with You Can't Kill God with Bullets. You had 21 Savage with What Happened to the Streets. You had Nas wrapping up his mass appeal Legend Has It series with his own collab project with DJ Premier, Light Years. And last but not least, you had my personal favorite release of this stacked lineup of that night, Chris Patrick, Pray For Me. This is one of the best albums of the year, 100%. I definitely forgot to mention that, he had that massive moment on Kai Cenat's Mafiathon live stream freestyle, but this album is an even bigger moment. Like, if you guys have not checked out this Chris Patrick, Pray For Me album, you're sleeping like a mother. Because everything from the crazy storytelling on the outro, where he's rapping from the perspective of his friend who's on the road with Chris while Chris is like about to blow up, and then right as he does, his friend Honcho gets locked up. Crazy story. I'm not doing it justice by describing it to you guys. But you also have like the smoother, kind of more R&B style ballads. You got the up-tempo bangers like The Mayor or Ramen Noodles. You got the heavy-hitting bars with the Conductor production on Frankenstein. Phenomenal project, top to bottom. If this guy doesn't blow up over the next few years, we definitely have a problem. He has all the makings of a superstar. Speaking of someone on the complete opposite end of that superstar spectrum, you got Top 5, who's the Super Saiyan Super Glazer of the superstar Sandra Suing's son, the sexy red stunt double, La Brianna Drake. His greatest Glazer, Top 5, had ended up turning on Drake in December after trying to pull up in Drake's defense to Kendrick Lamar's Toronto GNX show. By the end of 2025, Top 5 was calling Drake a nail-painting weirdo and saying that this entire time he had to bump Kendrick's diss track Not Like Us in the shower and in secret to hide the fact from Drake that he really loves the song and it's a great song.
Honestly, for years and years, I've been only listening to Not Like Us in my fucking washroom with my headphones. Let me go public today. I like that record.
No, wait, you're not listening to Not Like Us. That's the first time I think you actually listen to the song. Stop it.
No, I listened to it.
I know, yeah. I know right now you mad at Drake, but I know in your heart you don't like that song, bro.
You know the part I like the most?
What?
And honestly, no trolling. I'll never disrespect him like that. But
Don't play with the boy now.
I know he's not a racist. That's the one thing I can agree. But you know that part where it says, Chubs, with the heavy, that's facts.
That's right. Hold on. Yeah, five. I hate to break the fourth wall, but I've known, a lot of things behind the scenes sometimes. So I know sometimes y'all have these little disagreements and then y'all fix it up or whatever. We all live. Don't say nothing that it's always going to be used against you.
And in other news of enemies getting revenge on their ops, you also, of course, had the 50 Cent Diddy documentary. I left a link in the description of this video. I did like a full breakdown of 50 Cent and Diddy's 20-year friendship / rivalry. It's a crazy story, and it's also one of my best videos, I think. So definitely check that out. I'd much appreciate it from you guys. And speaking of the internet turning Charlie Kirk into a meme, they're now turning Nicki Minaj into a meme for appearing on Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA show with his wife, Erica, where Nicki Minaj makes the gravely inconvenient mistake of referring to the Vice President J.D. Vance as an assassin. And the irony is that Charlie Kirk always thought Nicki Minaj was a horrible role model, but here she is being the celebrity face of his talk show at this point when he's no longer around. And speaking of no longer around, obviously Epstein no longer around, but his files linger on. We've definitely gotten a few. A lot of them are redacted. If you guys want like a full breakdown of that, maybe I could do that in a separate video. But it just seems like, the U.S. government is playing games with the world in terms of, every little month you get like a little bit bigger of a piece of what really went down in those files, right? I mean, was Trump giving Bill Clinton a little bit of, sloppy schla? I don't know. We'll find out in 2026. But as this year comes to a close, Lawbreeze and Gentlegrams, I definitely have to thank you guys for making it one of the best years of my life. For real, any aspect of this being one of the best years of my life, I owe it all to you guys. You guys have made really my dreams come true, and I don't say that lightly, right? Like, I've been watching YouTube since a kid. I've been listening to hip hop since I was a kid. To be able to merge those two things together and combine, creativity and my passion for the music, being able to wake up every day and just, research these artists that I love, bring you guys the stories every day. Really, again, it's been a dream come true. And there's a lot I still feel like I haven't accomplished and haven't given back to you guys. I mean, for all the support you've given me, there's a lot I want to do. I want to start hosting some like charity fundraiser or something with you guys where you guys vote on like some sort of like collective cause and I like match your donations or something, or maybe I do like a Patreon and like the proceeds go to feeding the homeless or something. We're going to do something. We're going to figure something out. I want to start doing some giveaways with you guys too. Give away some vinyls, give away some merch. I want to start making some merch of my own. I want to start helping you guys build your own YouTube channels too, if that's something you want to do. Because again, this stuff, I mean, it's not easy, don't get me wrong, but like if you're passionate about really anything, it doesn't even have to be music. Like all it takes to make it in a game like this is consistent hard work mixed with the most important factor, which is passion. And so for you guys to have made, again, my dreams come true, where I can just research and talk about to you guys things that I'm passionate about on a daily basis. I mean, this is the first year that I've been like all in on this, 2025. And again, it's been one of the greatest years of my life, specifically for that reason. And 2026 is only going to get better. Hopefully it's better for the music side of things too. I mean, don't get me wrong, we had some great projects all throughout 2025. Should I give you guys my favorite, artists and albums and all that? Yeah, I guess why not? Let me do that. All right. So, top 5 albums of 2025. I'm going to have to say at number 5, JID, God Does Like Ugly. And, that might be a tied with Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist, Alfredo too. At number 4, I have Big L with Harlem's Finest, Return of the King. Yes, I know this is a posthumous album, but I love Big L, and this has every element of what I love as a Big L fan in this project. And then at number 3, I have Chris Patrick, Pray For Me. And honestly, this album only came out like 2 weeks ago. It might bump up to my number 2 or maybe even number 1 favorite album of 2025 when it's all said and done. But at number 2 for now, I have Wale's Everything Is a Lot. And then at number 1, I have The Clips, Let God Sort 'Em Out. In terms of top songs, I didn't rank them in order, but I'll give you guys a couple of the ones that I've been bumping the most this year. If you want to talk about songs from my favorite albums of the year, you had FICO off Let God Sort 'Em Out. Really, you could pick like any song off that project. Same thing with the Chris Patrick album, but I'll go with Honcho's Prayer. I think that's the one that has the most kind of depth and creativity behind the different perspectives that Chris is taking all throughout the song and then merging the hook back into a storytelling song, like weaving it in and out of these verses that are all changing perspectives, but somehow the hook still ties into whatever lens you're rapping from. It's definitely impressive. Also, Jid's Community with the Clips, that Malice verse, that could be verse of the year. J. Cole with Clouds as well. Those verses could easily be verses of the year. Conundrum or Survive by Wale. Those are some of my top songs of the year. Enchilada, Freddie and Anderson .Paak, dope song. So Black Mass, I don't know if you guys know who that is. He kind of like merges like mashups of 2 different songs. So one of my favorites is actually Playboi Carti and Kendrick Lamar's Backdoor, where he put the acapella of that song on the instrumental of Twista song Rain on Me. Just a very smooth, chill listen. That was one of my top tracks of the year. Maybe I'll leave a link in the description for that. It's called Wet Door on SoundCloud. A couple other favorites. I have to show love to Kehlani. Folded. I haven't got tired of that song. I think I've listened to it 100 times since July or whenever it came out. That is by far, that could be like, honestly, that could be the best song of the year. Another one I love for the vocalist on it, when I know it's just a sample, but just that vocal at the beginning of the track just gets me every time. Went Legit by G Herbo, crazy track. And also late contender for one of the songs of the year, First Day Out by Pooh Shiesty, FDO. Great song. If you want to talk worse songs, I mean, Drake can take the cake for 2 different tracks. Tumaza with Smiley and Meet Your Padre with Party Next Door. Kanye West can also take the cake for 2 different tracks with HH or Cousins. And then Lil Wayne can take the cake for at least 2 tracks. Probably a lot more, but I'll be generous and just say 2 with either Island Holiday or Peanuts to an Elephant. And with that being said, Lawbreeze and Gentlegrams, that wraps up my time with you in 2025. I hope we spend a lot more time together in 2026, but at the same time, not to contradict myself, I also hope you get outside more, maybe get off social media more. I don't know what your day-to-day looks like, but if I've had any role in making it a little bit brighter, entertaining you in any way, that's an honor to me, and I'm so thankful that we've been on this ride together. Let's make 2026 even better. Keep stacking this cheddar through the stormy weather. And like I say, let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I study
Rapaholicz
for a living.